I definitely just stole some kids' Easter chocolate, so I'm sorry if there's chocolate in my teeth. Hey friends, I'm sorry it's been a while since I've done a video here. To be honest, the last month has been quite the wild ride, and I didn't want to come and share a video like partway through because I just wanted a video to say what's going on instead of like, here's all the stuff we're in the middle of. So here's what's going on. First of all, I actually am back posting over on my homeschool channel. I originally was gonna just do homeschool videos on here, but then there was just so many other videos taking up my time here, and I was realizing that our homeschool was just, it was just boring this last year. And that's partly because there was lots of stuff going on. It's partly just because of the season. But I decided if I start back my homeschool channel, then I have like motivation to make sure I'm like staying on top of things in our homeschool. And I think I need that accountability at least right now. So I'm back there if you guys want some homeschool specific videos. I'm not doing any kind of schedule, although it has been like once a week, I think, pretty much. So if you're interested in that, that's there. Okay. Now, what's happened in the last month? We put our house up for sale. We sold our house. We bought a house. End of video. See you guys later. If you guys want the longer version, here we go. Okay, so beginning of March, we put our house up for sale. By the end of the next week, we had an offer in. The possession date that the people buying our house wanted was earlier than we expected. We were hoping kind of to be here till the end of the school year or so. We had a little bit more flexibility than the family that we're moving with because we only have one kid in school and it's kindergarten, and his social worker told me that if we were to move before the school year is out, she's okay if we just like pull him, because he only goes about 2 days a week. It's like 2 days and then some Fridays, depending how the schedule works out. Plus our school, the whole Saskatchewan teachers have been striking for months, and so a lot of days school is just cancelled for him. So he really hasn't been going much anyway. Okay, so we were hoping for like end of June-ish possession date, but now we have to be out of our house middle of May instead. And we did have a little hiccup with the selling of the house because the people that are buying our house, they needed to sell their house in order to buy it. Fair, totally makes sense. But the people that were buying their house, their financing fell through. But thankfully, those people got another offer within 12 hours. So the only thing it did is it bumped back. We were supposed to find out by March 28th, right before Good Friday, if our house sale had gone through on their end. But they pushed it back to April 2nd, and April 2nd, very, very late in the day, we found out that it did go through. So, house is sold. Listed, sold. Now I need to start packing stuff up. Friends have given some boxes and I can start with the packing. Maybe I will share some of those videos, actually. So the house is sold. This week, the plan, I guess by the time I post this, it will be like last week. The plan was to go to Edmonton Monday through Thursday to look at houses. The week before going, we sent our real estate agent 20 houses between the two of our families that we wanted to look at that were available. By the time we got there on Monday, the list was like slashed in half. Apparently Easter weekend is the busiest weekend in real estate. The houses were just flying off the market. So we got to Edmonton Monday late afternoon. We grabbed some food. Then we left the kids at the hotel. Thankfully, we have lots of kids amongst our two families, but the other family has some older kids, so we were good there. And then we took off to go look at some houses. So the plan Monday was to look at new builds because we weren't sure what time we would arrive in the city. So we thought we'd look at the new ones so that people didn't have to be out at their houses at certain times because we didn't know when we'd be coming. So we looked at 6 houses that first evening, and there were a couple that stood out. Both families liked the same floor plan, and there was out of the ones that we looked at that day. There were 2 houses side by side with the same floor plan, just mirrored, but we had a bunch of houses we were going to look at the next day. So Tuesday we showed up and we found out that even more houses sold the night before. So there was a couple houses we were going to look at. We went to one and we realized this is just not the area for us, really, and we need to make a decision quickly in regards to buying a house. Partly the reason we didn't really like the area, not really like it, that's not the right term, but as we were driving up, we saw a couple of different church buildings and we're like, we're here to plant a church. The other area that we had looked at the night before had no churches, so it seemed like that would be a better place to plant a church. And then because houses were selling so quickly, we were like, let's go back and relook at the houses we liked the night before. And then we found out that one of the houses that was at the top of our list, like there was the 2 that are mirrored that were the same, also sold. And I just want to pause here and like give a little bit of backstory, because if you don't know, our house and the people that we're moving with, their house, we actually have the same floor plan and it's mirrored. And we didn't really know each other when we bought our houses, and we live on the same street. So we thought it'd be kind of fun to have the same floor plan mirrored again. Seemed like a cool idea. This is actually kind of how we really got to know each other. I'm gonna back up a few years. So 10, 11 years ago, whatever, we were looking for a new church. We tried out a few over the span of a couple months. There was one church we went to, like, we're introverts, okay? Like, we don't want to socialize a ton. There was one church we went to, not a single person talked to us the entire time. And then later that week we got a Tim Hortons gift card in the mail saying, thanks for coming to our church, because you had to fill out a thing. But not a single person talked to us. Then we went to Grace Fellowship, which is a church in Saskatoon. And I remember this lady came up to me and she was like, oh, you're new here, right? You have a daughter? Like, she was making conversation. And I was like weirded out, but like in a good way. After we went to this church that no one talked to us, I'm like, whoa, someone's talking to me and like we're having a conversation. And I found her on Facebook, I think probably like later that week after we'd been at the church. And I just was like, I want to thank you so much for doing that. Like that meant a lot to me. We decided that that church wasn't the right one for us because we really felt like God wanted us to be in a church in our community, and that was in a different city. So I said, like, I don't think we're actually gonna be attending the church or anything, but I just wanted to say thank you, kind of idea. And that was that. And then a couple months later, we were in the process of buying this house, and I get a message from that same person. Her name's Kim, for the record. She's my friend. She has a YouTube channel. I'll leave it linked below. You should check her out. I get a message from Kim and she's like, hey, are you guys building a house through this home builder? Because we are, and they said that the people that are buying the house right next to the one we want are a sweet couple that have a kid and are adopting internationally. And she's like, I was just wondering if that was you. And so it was. So they were trying to buy the house right next door to us, which is the same floor plan, but mirrored. But it actually worked out that that one wouldn't be ready in time, I think. So they ended up farther down the street. So that's just a little bit of our background. That is how we found out that they were planting a church here where we live, because she said they were moving to this town to plant a church. And I remember reading that message and being like, Jared, like, we need to go to this church. Like, we loved it. It just wasn't in our community. And now they are planting a church in our community. So that's kind of like how we got here. Now fast forward to almost buying mirrored houses again. But it turns out in Edmonton that one of the 2 houses was sold that Monday night. While we were looking at it, someone put in an offer. So there was still a couple different options. Both families still really liked the one floor plan, and there was one next to it that was a definite possibility. So we ended up deciding to put in offers for these 2 houses. Our friends have received the floor plan that we all loved, but they were willing to help us out with the other house. We hadn't really looked at this floor plan a ton because it was a little bit out of our price range, but they so kindly, like, I can see why the other lady was weirded out. Okay. They kindly asked if the builder could even out our prices so they would actually pay more for their house. We could pay less and then get the same price. And then the financing would work out for us. We could actually get a mortgage. Yeah, and so we put in offers on houses next to each other. We went to the show home to like do some of the paperwork that we had to do, and in walks this lady, and I was like, we met her last year. Last year we were looking at houses in a different area, not in the little community that we were buying houses in. And when she sat down, she's like, we mentioned that we had seen her last year, and she's like, yeah, you're the people that are starting a church, aren't you? She totally remembered talking to us, and she, well, how did she word it? She kind of thought we were weird, but she didn't use that word, but like in a positive way. It was different that we were willing to, or that our friends were willing to help us out pretty much with our mortgage, even out the prices, because who does that? And so we told her that she should be there for our first service. Funny connection, funny connection. I love seeing the threads of how God is working, even when it feels like he's working against you. Like Tuesday, we were kind of in panic mode because houses were flying off the market. But now I can see that God was like narrowing down our search. He's like, none of these houses are the right ones for you. This is the area where you're supposed to be. I'm gonna find you houses right next door to each other. Like that was a fear of mine, especially of Ephraim's, because we were moving to a city where we don't know anyone. And we wanted to be close so that our kids could just walk over. And like, not only can we just walk over, it's just like a step over. It's really an answer to prayer. Even though in the moment it felt like we panic bought a house. But I feel like God was really working in that way. And now that I've had time to like come home, explore the floor plan that we bought a little bit better, our house isn't quite in the finishing stages yet. I'll overlay some pictures. I took some pictures while we were there. It needs flooring, fixtures, I think some of the baseboards still, sinks, etc. Like it's close. It won't take that long. Hopefully it'll be ready in time. But as I've come home and had time to look at the floor plan, which I hadn't looked at this one much before going because it was just out of our price range, I'm realizing that it checks some boxes that I didn't even expect to get checked, or it's just even, I just really feel blessed is honestly what it is. We wanted a big open living space because we're going to be starting church in our homes to start. So we needed some space for people, space where, you know, the table can be pushed over or couches can be pushed over. The living room and kitchen we really wanted together, so that we can expand however it's needed. It has a mud room, which I'm really excited about because it is spring right now, and when you're having like winter boots and rubber boots and shoes in an entrance, it's overwhelming. So it's just, yeah, it checks a lot of boxes for me that I didn't even dream I could get checked. So yeah, there's a little bit of a life update. The next, so we don't have an exact possession date yet. That's also a little bit unnerving. But hopefully they have it ready before we need to be out of this house. In theory, we should be moving like mid-ish May, a little later than mid-May. So videos for the next while might just be a little chaotic. I might take you guys along, helping me pack up because I've got a lot of that to do. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I would love to answer them. And if there's any kind of videos that I can make coming up that are either easy, like just sit down and chat kind of easy, or like take you along for this journey, if there's specific things you want to see. So thanks for listening to the story and coming along for our church planting journey. And I also want to thank you guys for all of your prayers.